Hey everybody, this is Lauren and Abby.
Hello.
From Royal Vintage Shoes and American Duchess. Today we are going to be flipping through some vintage magazines that we have. I realize this is backwards for you guys, but this is Women's World from the 30s. We have a few of these. We have some earlier ones, and we have these from the 30s, the oldest we're going to get. To give you an idea of kind of where we're going with this, what the distinction that I want to draw is between old magazines and new magazines and how they've changed and how they haven't changed.
So are we talking about old, like 19-teens versus 1930s, or like pre-1950 to today?
Well, what I'm thinking is, like, you know, we've got these old 30s magazines. We've got a Delineator from 1917. We've got a Harper's Bazaar from the 20s.
The classy one.
Really classy. How do they compare to magazines today, women's magazines today, which we have a lot to say about because we're all very familiar with them. But the interesting thing that we want to note are some of the advertisements that are in here, some of the articles that we find interesting, and the difference between these vintage magazines that we have, Women's World, Harper's Bazaar, and the Delineator, which is the Butterick magazine.
And the type of self-hate you experience when reading these magazines, because guess what? Everyone loves to hate themselves.
Except and now here's the part of the message part of this is that we all know this. Women's magazines today are full of advertisements that are designed to make you feel bad about yourself, yes, so that you buy their product. Did that stuff exist in the past?
Yes.
Yes. Except it had slightly different themes.
Well, they were more open about their self-loathing.
Depending on what magazine you're reading. So we're gonna go ahead and flip through some of these, yeah, and read you some of the ads that we have found in Women's World, Harper's Bazaar, and the Delineator.
And just before we get into this, just remember, as always, it's live right now. Mm-hmm. It won't be live later, but we're always happy to answer your questions.
Yep.
If you
comment box,
we're gonna try to show you the pictures, but obviously they're backwards and old. If you want to see an advertisement like in a picture, please tell us which one. And we'll take a picture and we'll upload it for you onto Facebook. And also, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them in the comment box below, and we will do our best to answer them as we go through. But
now here's a warning. This live cast is probably going to be dirty.
Yep.
We're going to talk about
poop.
Things on the air. This is what we always do in our live cast. We say the shit that probably shouldn't be said on the internet, and then we post it later forever, for perpetuity, to be on the internet forever.
Because you know that whatever you post on Facebook is going to be there forever, guys.
Forever.
Just so you know.
And YouTube.
It's there forever.
So yeah, how about we start off with the Women's Worlds. Now, we have 3 Women's Worlds. From let's see, this one's 1935.
There's 2 35s and 1 36.
And 136.
I think that one is
this is 36.
And then I have the 35.
Right, and these were sent to a woman in
Georgetown, Indiana. Which is really close to where I'm from.
Mrs. Cleta Burkhart.
Yes.
Yeah, and she got Women's World. Now the thing about Women's World is it seems to be a fairly commoner, let's say, to use a really old term, magazine. It's not pulp, you know, it's not tacky, but it does contain an awful lot of advertisements for working your system out. X-lax and the like.
Exorcising your demons.
Exorcising, yes. So we have, what a difference when you take a laxative that combats acidity, too.
Yeah. Or how about, don't choose your laxative blindly.
There's a blind lady there.
Yeah, there. This one's for
That's
X-Lax.
for X-Lax, which
it's a chocolate laxative.
Yeah. Maybe you didn't know it, but constipation often increases the acidity in your system. Maybe you didn't know that. Yeah. And though an ordinary laxative may cleanse the system, no ordinary laxative is designed to correct acidity. And on and on and on it goes. We have an entire paragraph here all about your
That's how they are.
pooper. And there's a lot of these in Women's World.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 of them in one magazine. So we have that one. We have the one I just did. Another one for X-Lax, which is a big smile because, you know, that's what happens. And it's once this lady fairly loathed the idea of taking a laxative. I mean, who wouldn't? Because, you know.
It's a little embarrassing.
It's not the most pleasant experience.
Excuse me, pharmacist, but I'm constipated.
It tastes just like smooth, velvety, delicious chocolate mild and gentle in action, ... approximating nature.
Yummy!
Yeah. I think this is funny because I don't know if you all have like really old grandparents. I do. My grandparents were born in 1920 and 1923. And this running joke between my mother and I is that the older you get, the more you just talk about poop. And I'm actually developing this theory that it has nothing to do with them being old. It has everything to do with the fact that their magazines that their mothers would have read growing up had all of these laxative advertisements. And obviously people talked about pooping all the time.
But did they really?
I mean, these are big. I mean, they're talking about it.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is like modern. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Modern magazines have.
I don't feel like we talk about pooping this much.
No, I don't think we do. Like, you flip open to Cosmopolitan, and what do you get? You don't get articles about, like...
No, you get lubrication ads.
Yeah, they're all about sex and then all of the drugs you have to take because you caught STDs. Have you heard that? Like, and they're like 4 pages of pharmaceutical
of like a woman
advertisement.
Running, being free,
riding
like
a bike with her herpes. And you're like, oh my God! So, honestly, like...
They just like talking about pooping.
The X-Lax ads in these magazines are not... I mean, I'm not that shocked by them compared to what we have in our magazines today, right?
I know. I feel like talking about laxatives like that is I mean, like, because our, like, bodily function advertisements usually gear around, the, like, taking of fiber. So, like, the consumption of, like, Metamucil.
But that's kind of the same thing.
But it's, like, very subtle. We don't...
Yeah, in a way.
Where I feel like if you saw like a big ad that was like X-Lax, you'd be like...
In a way, maybe we have more Victorian principles and ideas today about talking about this stuff, except for sex. All the sex, all the time, but don't you dare talk about your bowels. No. But Women's World did. They weren't afraid. What's the one you marked in here that you want to talk about?
Oh, this one is the old-fashioned beauty. This is it's an article with...
an article.
It starts on the other page, but this lady right here... Irene Dunn, the interviewed her because apparently she was the most beautiful movie star at 1936.
She's pretty gorgeous.
But she talks about like her like old-timey, old-fashioned like beauty things, and so she would use cucumber rinds to bleach her skin, and then she also loved to rub her body down in camphor. And I'm like,
camphor,
like I'm like the like nasal burning experience
camphor
that
oil.
Would be like rubbing yourself down in camphor oil. She's like, I want to keep my skin active and healthy. It's like,
but it seems
and
to work
burn
for
out
her.
Your nose hairs. I mean, like obviously you'll never have a congestion issue, but
it seemed to work for her.
It did seem to work for her.
So how about these fun little?
Okay. Yeah, so another thing we learned is that they like to do advertisements in sneaky forms of comic books.
Yes, to get you to read them.
To get you to read them. So my personal favorite one is Trying to Marry Off Mary, because who doesn't love a good pun? Do you want to do a...
Yeah, we can read this. So let's show what it looks like. So it's a very nice little comic.
I'm not going to show you what they're advertising though.
Rebecca says camphor was used to calm the skin and arthritis.
Interesting.
You know, obviously the shit they put in our cosmetics and lotions and stuff today. I mean, we're kind of finally getting back to more natural, organic sort of lotions and stuff, like stuff we put on our skin, but at least coming straight out and being like, I put camphor oil on my skin. I'm like, cool. Instead of going, read the side of any kind of lotion bottle and you're like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Oh, it's great. Yeah. Oh, it burns! Ah!
The thing about the camphor is like the smell of it. And just because it's like, it's in like chest decongested like rubs and stuff.
True.
And it's like the smell of that every day.
But we have to remember that this is the world of carbolic soap, right? So smells were a thing, but maybe smells on the body, not so much a thing. So let's read this comic with this no mystery about her snowy washes now.
Oh gosh.
Who am I gonna play?
I don't know. Do you want to play the main, not Mary? Do you want to play Mary and the husband, or do you want to play
this is a different, what is it?
No, it's this, this is separate.
Life buoy. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry!
Okay, let's just read it. I'll read this lady, you read the man.
Okay.
Okay, so the lady says, when that new man from your office comes to dinner next week, I think I'll ask Mary, too.
Say, you're always planning to have Mary meet some eligible man, and it's never worked yet.
I think I know the reason now. No, I'm not going to tell you, but I have a plan. ...
The
next day.
Ooh, that was really done. Well done.
Mary, can't you run over this afternoon and see how nice the house looks? The painters have finished it last.
A coral color bathroom? How lovely and how unusual. Whatever made you choose coral?
Oh, to match my pet soap. Life buoy.
Life boy.
Life buoy. It's buoy.
No,
it's
but
buoy.
they say life boy in A Christmas Story.
Fine, life boy. Life
Never
boy.
seen that movie?
No. Carry on. This is your part. Life buoy.
Life boy.
Life boy.
Life boy.
Life buoy.
Because he says the F-bomb.
Just carry on. Life buoy.
Boy!
Okay, keep going.
Yes, but suppose you want to change toilet soaps, which that sounds really weird. I get what she's trying to say, but whenever she says toilet soap, I go,
oh my god, this is
go easy
apart.
on
I'm not, I'm just moving it a little bit.
I think of like, wait, you're gonna wash your face with the same, your favorite toilet soap? And then I'm like, well, I don't think she means toilet bowl cleaner.
No, she doesn't mean toilet bowl
She's
cleaner.
like toilet, like the toilet. But it's still weird. It reads weird.
So then she says, change from life buoy?
Boy.
Never! It's so refreshing. Besides, I wouldn't take a chance with B.O. One never knows.
Now Mary leaves, and she goes to herself. It almost sounded as though she was hinting. I'm going to get myself some life boy and play safe.
B.O. is gone. Romance is building.
Yay!
Look how interested he seems in Mary. I heard him ask if he might call.
And I suppose you've already decided the kind of dress you'll wear when you're the matron of honor at her wedding. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Then she says,
why didn't you tell me what a grand complexion soap life boy is?
isn't it? And it keeps the hands so nice and smooth.
Dude, guys, it does everything.
So basically, Mary
Stinks.
She needs to be using some good life buoy soap.
That's a really well done. It's like, oh, you're not married, you're single, you're an old maid. Guess what?
Because
You
she's got
probably
B.O.
stink.
And I also find it interesting that B.O., body odor, was a term being used in 1935. So we've got that, and the covers just come off our magazine here. So
it's okay. She's Democrat.
She's done. So again, in these magazines, actually across all three, the Delineator, Harper's Bazaar, and Women's World, we have ads that are like, don't smell, don't be hairy.
Yeah.
Wash yourself or you're not going to get a man. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar? You know, like, don't smell, don't be hairy, here's 55 sex tips, you need a man, right? That is what's missing.
How to lose 5 pounds.
We have replaced in women's magazines before lunch. We've replaced all of the stuff on how to raise children well and like how to change diapers. Now there are magazines about that, modern magazines, but we've replaced all of the kids stuff with sex stuff. So that's the one thing that's
they are interchangeable though.
Really different.
You can't have one without the other.
Right. And what are some of these other ads that are like really bizarre?
Oh, the frog one.
Where is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
it's right there.
Okay, so we've got some weird stuff in here too.
Women's World was very interesting once you started going through the advertisement.
Right. So one of the things we love about vintage magazines is this is a time capsule. It's a primary source. And go through and read the articles and read the stories. Those are cool.
Oh, look, another laxative
but
advertisement.
Read the ads that are on the sides here. You have all kinds of weird things.
3 minutes for relief from constipation. Don't take that lightly.
Yeah, 3 minutes. Whoa! Yeah, don't be taking that in the car.
This is like where we need to like edit the video and then have like explosions. But this is this is one of my favorite ones, and it's in a multiple of them. You guys cannot see this to save your life. We need to post a picture.
They're not going to be able to read it.
No, but it's a picture of a frog, and it's about raising giant frogs and making money from giant frogs.
Yeah. It says, where is this?
Right here.
Raise giant frogs. Start backyard.
Big profit possibilities.
Breeder lays 10,000 eggs yearly.
We buy.
Any climate suitable. No experience necessary.
You can get a free how-to book from the American Frog Canning Company.
In New Orleans, Louisiana. So just think of your new career, raising giant frogs.
It was the Great Depression. I guess desperate times call for desperate measures.
We assume this is for eating frog legs, something you can still do today.
I hope it's frog legs.
Well, it says American Frog Canning Company, so we're not entirely sure.
It could. What if it's eggs?
God. Good heavens. Gross. And speaking of making money, one really cool thing about flipping through old catalogs is looking at the prices of things. And every time I ever, you and I post catalog images of shoes or whatever, and it's like, oh, get these great shoes for $1 from 1925. People go, oh, I wish they were that price today. And the first thing that I do is I go, ha ha ha, they're not that price, are they? Ha ha, inflation calculator. And then I realize that they are actually really affordable shoes. Because guess what? Our money really is worth quite a lot less than it used to be even in the Great Depression. So in Butterick's catalog, the delineator here, which is very big. This is the delineator from 1917. Yep, January 1917. This is a great magazine because Delineator, which is Butterick Company, which still makes sewing patterns today, put out this magazine full of literature and
they should
all kinds
republish
of stuff.
That.
They should, but it would probably be boring as fuck. Anyway, they have these ads in here towards the back. One of them is, would you like to earn $5? And the first thing I went was like, ooh, what was $5 in 1917? I bet that was a lot of money. Do you know how much money that is? And to be clear, earn $5 for selling the delineator to your friends. So we updated this.
Yeah.
And
you
now,
inflation calculated it.
Now it is, would you like to earn $94.08?
That's still like nothing.
It's $100. Yeah, would you like to earn $94.08 for selling this magazine to your friends?
Would you like to be able to maybe afford a week's worth of groceries?
Maybe. Depends. Do you shop at Whole Foods?
Trader Joe's.
Ooh, then you could probably get some good frozen pizzas for $94.08.
Some coffee.
Here's another one on the opposite page. I'm going to show you the picture here, even though this is backwards. I've got it tabbed here.
Super cute house.
Right. Wouldn't you love to live in a super cute house from 1917? It was probably prefab, cheaply made home.
Drafty as all hell.
This house, $948. Wow! Oh, and of course, what did we think? What is that kind of
amount come up to?
What is that amount? That's a lot of money in 1917. No, it's not. Well, how much money is it, Abby?
That house, ladies and gentlemen,
a cute little house.
How many bedrooms and baths? Because I love me some real estate. Does it say?
No, it's Gordon Van Tyne Company.
It's probably 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Let's be honest.
Cute little brick house.
It looks like it. Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah.
$17,838.18. You can buy a whole house for the price of a used car.
Yeah, a used car, not even a new car, not even a Kia. Booyah.
A new Kia.
So,
can buy a new Kia.
Our money today really is worth a lot less than it was in 1917. So you can earn yourself $5 and buy yourself a week's worth of groceries. You can buy a house for $948. You certainly can't do that today.
If that was the case, I'd be like, make it rain!
You can't even buy a trailer for $17,838.18 anymore. You might be able to get like a...
You can buy a 2000 Honda Civic.
Maybe. Oh, Honda Civics.
You can buy like a couple of them.
Its timing belt won't work, but sure, $17,000. Here you go. So those are some of the interesting tidbits. When you see old catalogs or you see ads for earn money, that's a really common one. Yeah. Earn money.
Selling frogs
or magazines. Yeah, in women's magazines.
Frogs, X-Lax.
Yummy.
Hair removal.
Soap.
Diapers.
So
you don't stink. Oh, but one thing that's actually... do you have to put it together? Don't know. It would be kind of funny. It's like IKEA, type of house. Build your pretty little craftsman house, and it'll sell for a fortune in 2016.
I do think those were like prefab homes that were either being built in the suburbs back when those were a new thing, or that you might build yourself. Those of you who watched Boardwalk Empire, one of the later seasons, what's his face? He was building his own house. Do you remember that? That was kind of a thing. They would ship it to you in a kit, like a Factory 5 Roadster, and you'd put it together yourself. What a pain in the ass.
It's like tiny houses today.
Yeah.
I think IKEA's even got prefab houses, but that goes into the refugee crisis in Syria and stuff.
You can probably get a teeny tiny house for $17,000, but you certainly can't buy a new or even an older home for that. House prices in the Reno area, which is not New York and not California. It's not that expensive here, but it's not that cheap. What, $200,000 for kind of a crappy house? $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. That's what houses cost. today here in Reno. I don't know what it is in other places.
Well, you go to the Midwest where I'm from, it's like you start to cry when you look at how cheap the houses are.
Yeah, but they're still not $17,000.
No, they're not. Well, some are, but you don't want to live in those.
So this brings us. We've covered X-Lash, we've covered frogs, we've got
body odor,
we've got BO.
We have not talked about Aunt Flo and how those have not changed.
Tell us about Aunt Flo.
So
Aunt Flo's coming visiting. She does every month.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
The red flaming dragon of
Doom.
I
don't know. Do you know what we're talking about? It's your period.
So what I actually found was really funny is that the advertisements for Kotex, whether it's the 1920s Harper's like single advertisement for Kotex or like the 15 in the women's world, they're all basically the same. Invisible, comfortable, no chafing. You can be active.
Don't stink.
Don't stink. And it's like, isn't that exactly the same advertisement process that we have today thrown at us, especially when it comes to, well, everything. Include tampons and pads, because it's like you have like the sport version, you have the all night version, no stink, and then you see the commercials and you think your period's blue, and then you're in for a rude awakening when it happens.
So they are the same. We want the same things. I mean, women's bodies are essentially the same, but also the idea that in oldie-timey times, people stunk. They didn't want to stink. They didn't want hair in their armpits. They don't want bacteria on their bodies. At least in 1917,
Could you imagine trying to wear a Kotex belt when you're wearing like this slinky ass like bias cut 1930s dress to an evening gala, and it's like, and it's like thin charmeuse, and you're like, I got a belt on you.
But I bet the thing is that they wouldn't go to the evening gala.
What if you had to?
But because you had the curse.
But what
you
if
would
you
stay
had to?
in. You wouldn't go.
What if you were getting an award?
Well, you would sign your husband up for that award ceremony, and then you'd go to RuffleCon instead. Just saying. Rebecca says, have you seen the RV ad for the first moon party? No, I don't.
No.
I don't know. RV only means Royal Vintage to us, so I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, that brings us to
TV ad.
Oh, TV. Oh, sorry.
It's like
Royal Vintage.
First moon party.
First moon party. No, I haven't. We watch mostly Netflix, but that brings us to our last magazine, which doesn't have a cover, unfortunately. I would love to.
Yeah, I thought this was actually like a Tiffany & Company catalog when I first saw it, and I was like, why did you bring in a Tiffany & Company catalog?
That's a massive catalog, but this is actually a Harper's Bazaar.
For all them rich folks out there in the city who want to live a classy lifestyle.
From September 1928. Now, let's talk about Harper's Bazaar. Harper's Bazaar, which we still have around today, was a classy magazine.
Yes, it
was classy, and
it made me feel really bad about myself.
It is full of beautiful, fashion-y pictures, full of accessories and dresses.
Well, they have like their travel section where it's like Paris, Mediterranean, Hawaii, like
the best colleges to send your daughter to, like in 1928.
Yeah, but and they had them divided up by region. So if you wanted to look at like Southern colleges, there was a list. By the way, Jenny Sweetbriar was not advertised. I was very disappointed.
Neither was San Jose State.
Randolph-Macon was.
Top schools.
New England.
Going
Military
around,
Boy Academy.
Traveling around, wearing the finest clothes. This is Harper's. So we didn't actually find very many or any ads for frogs, or Making $5 or X-Lax or Kotex in Harper's.
No, there's a lot of French advertisements though.
A lot of French advertisements. We found an interesting ad for shoes.
Yes.
This is the one about keep the feet small.
Yeah, it's a part of their advertisement is keeping the feet small.
Keeping the feet small. An advertisement for shoes. But Harper's, despite being published...
And cars. There's a lot of advertisements for cars.
Luxury items like cars, jewelries, furs, that kind of thing. Posh hats.
Mock turtle soup, though.
Yes, but you're not actually raising the turtles to then put in your turtle soup. So Harper's was of another, like, what would you say, like Town and Country now? Like
I
really
like
know. Posh magazines. They're more genteel.
I mean, like you can say like Vogue, but the thing is, like Vogue is still
full of like.
It's still fashion, but some of the fashion is more accessible.
Yeah,
it's the the fashion spreads that are not, where they're like, this is a couture piece, and it's like, then
I can't afford it. So this is what the classified section looks like in Harper's in 1928. Mm-hmm. This is for schools, isn't it?
It's this, for schools for boys and girls, and it's divided up.
Yeah, schools and travel.
Yeah, colleges. So like here's like the Southern girls' colleges.
Right. So quite a different style of magazine, but we're talking about the same time period.
Oh, I wonder if we can find that hat one. That was interesting. We found an interesting little moment of original ownership in here.
And again, you guys, vintage magazines are excellent time capsules. They actually belong to somebody. They contain an enormous amount of information, both about the person, which we're about to show you, that owned it, and what was going on as a whole at the time. Mm-hmm. But even as we're talking about in our talk right now, is that different magazines from the same year, from the same month, will have a different flavor to them, so to speak, just like magazines are today. So Cosmo's kind of like raunchy, but it's not Hustler, is it? Glamour's a little bit, not quite as raunchy, but it's aimed at a certain demographic. What are some of the other ones? Redbook, Vogue, Harper's,
Elle,
People magazine, Elle,
Allure,
Marie Claire, all these women's magazines, they're kind of the same, but they point at different people and they talk to different groups in different ways. So I remember when I was a teenager, I was somewhere and I picked up a Redbook, which at the time, I have never picked up a Redbook again because this was such a terrible experience, but at the time it was really, really pointed at women who were married and had children. So it really made me feel bad for not being married and having children as a 17-year-old girl. It was totally not for me at all.
Why did you pick up a Redbook? I was reading Cosmos
because I was bored and it was the only thing in the office.
That's what we did in high school.
Like a doctor's office or something.
Read Cosmos.
But then I got Cosmos and I was like, oh my god, it's all like 55
cents. I can read it and like,
how to make it happy tonight.
I know, I read those today and I'm like, this is total bullshit. None of this actually happened. Someone's making this up. Someone's sitting in the back of like Cosmo's office being like, what weird stories can I come up with? They get on Reddit and then they just like make stuff up.
Yeah, anyways, so I feel like the magazines of yesteryear were more authentic.
They probably made up a lot.
They were a little less, they didn't really tie in with making you feel quite so bad about yourself, unless of course you stink or you're hairy.
Yeah, and you're unmarried.
And there wasn't as much make your man happy bullshit. At least not in the 19-teens, 20s, and 30s in the magazines we're looking at. That kind of seemed to come in more in the 50s when men were returning from the war, and then it persisted ever since. Make your man happy. Instead, we've got like, here's some cookie recipes, and here's some fiction because you're bored, you don't have a smartphone.
Some of those recipes in those magazines sound delicious.
Make your own tatting for Christmas gifts.
Oh, we missed the whole, there's one in the Women's World that was like all about making gifts out of saran wrap.
It was crocheting cellophane. Crocheting with cellophane. Because what I want for Christmas is a cellophane collar.
Guess what you're going to get?
Yay! I know you don't know how to crochet.
No, I don't.
Bitch, please. So the last thing we're going to show you before we sign off.
This is Harper's.
This is Harper's here. I'll hold this side. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is an advertisement for a hat here. It's a little bit more. And...
I'm trying to like get it to move so we can see. See how that's cut open there?
It has a hole cut in it.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? So we know what the ad was because sometimes you get like mail this in, to get a free booklet. There's a lot of that stuff. Mail this in to get a free hat or to get a free cake of soap or whatever.
But what this is for is the Millinery Association of America, approved by the National Committee of Correct Style. We should really have one of those again.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Bring
hats back. I'm all about bringing hats back.
But
so where she's cut out
says,
look for this seal in the lining of each hat you buy. Now, Abby, what did you think when you first saw that?
I was like being really optimistic and precious to being like, oh, she wants to make sure she buys a nice hat, so she cut out the little label
to take it with her.
So when she goes shopping, she can look for the label.
What I thought is that bitch glued that label inside her own hat. Look for this label for a quality hat. Oh, look at my hat. Oh, look. Oh, it's the best hat. It has
Don't mind the cut lines around it and the fact that it's like been pasted in. Or like
the fact is that we don't know, but it's kind of funny. So Rebecca says, what do you think would happen if we went back to this style of magazine with today's generations? You mean magazines that actually have more than a single page story in them?
I think it would go well. This is getting kind of into a more serious topic, but one of the problems with our advertisements in American in magazines today is the fact that it's legal to advertise prescription drugs. In countries in the EU, some of them it's not. So I can say, like Poland, for example, it is, at least it was a few years ago, completely illegal to advertise prescription drugs in magazines and newspapers and things like that. Like, it's not something that you advertise. So if you look at your magazines today and all those advertisements, a lot of it's very heavy in prescription drugs. And I think it would actually have to make people really rethink their whole magazine setup.
Well, I think magazines today, I mean, there was a video going around just a couple days ago where I believe it was a UK video, but in the video, they took modern fashion magazines and they tore out all the advertisements and paid content.
Yeah.
And what they were left with was this teeny tiny thing. It had been that thick before, and this teeny tiny thing of actual content. And then what they didn't go into is when you weigh the value of that content, like if you go through and you do this to a cosmopolitan, you're going to end up with a teeny tiny bit. And it's all about, what did we say? What have we been saying the whole time? 50 tips to please your man, how to make your skin nicer to please your man, how to get a man, how to flirt with a man, dates to go on a man, food to cook for your man, why you're fat, here's the diets that you need to go on, here's the diets you shouldn't go on, bacon's gonna kill you, water's gonna kill you, stop
Bacon's
breathing.
good for you.
Bacon's good for you.
Butter.
Make bacon for your man, bacon canapes for your man. And it's
Baconaise.
like, oh, clunk. I mean, I think magazines in the past were not perfect. They were not like girl power. No. But what I do see in these magazines is a lot of things that you wouldn't expect of women in 1917. Women are driving. Women are going out and they're playing sports. They don't have the right to vote yet, in this country anyway. But there's a lot of mostly fashion, how to raise your kid really well.
But there's also stories in these. Like, and this
Fictional,
is what you see, fictional stories. The same thing for Godey's. Same thing for even ladies' magazines from the 18th century. It's like you're seeing actual stories. Fictional stories, but they're stories. And they could have been submitted by people. They could have been paid authors who sat there and turned out these stories. And that's very different than what we have today. We might have like a snippet from a new like romance novel.
And it's always the sex scene.
And it, yeah,
One of the sex
like
scenes.
right leading up to it.
Oh, your summer beach read.
Yeah.
Get Randy in the sandy. Ooh, and it's like, I'm at the beach. I don't want to read this.
Yeah. So I think it'd be interesting to actually, maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we'll eventually to start a magazine.
A magazine.
A magazine.
Maybe. And there are independent magazines that are really good, that are not about body shaming. One of those is Vintage Life.
Yes.
Guess what Vintage Life is about, guys? It's about vintage life. I know that's really surprising, but there are not 5 different positions to ride your man tonight. There are 5 outfit ideas to dress in vintage clothes. That's the kind of magazine that I like.
Yeah.
As an adult 30-year-old woman.
I'm a weirdo. I like to read, well, mostly when I'm at my mom's house and she has a collection of like, retro, like Victoria magazines from like the 80s and early 90s.
Oh, I love those.
Those are great.
Yeah, that's probably formative things, like our mother's old Victoria magazines, formative experiences in our youth. So what would happen if we went back to magazines like this today? Honestly, I think they'd fail.
I could do an e-mag.
I think there's such, like a national magazine, I think there's such a huge ingrained money-driving thing here that magazines are mostly advertisements. They're advertisements that are made to make you feel bad about yourself and then to buy their product.
Like one of the whole story about like Atelier. When we watched that show, remember? Like, she wanted to do the editor wanted to do the magazine about the lingerie company and like her whole advertisement. And that was in Japan. Yeah, that was like a TV show.
I mean, this is a problem worldwide because it's a business model that works. Unfortunately, we buy into it. How much crap makeup do I own from Walmart? Like, kind of a lot because my face isn't
getting really preachy right now.
enough. As it is. That's okay. We are talking about all magazines.
Are you turning into a coffee monster?
Maybe. Maybe. Coffee monster. Anyway, okay, you guys, thank you for watching. Before we get really, really, really preachy.
Get preachy, because that's not fun.
Keep saying the same things over and over again. As a sign-off note, guys, it's always really fun when you go to antique stores or vintage shops and you find old magazines, flea markets. Have a flip through them as a historical piece.
They're super cheap.
And the stories in them are pretty good and they're pretty fun to flip through. Yeah. Okay, before I get like really, really on my soapbox about body image.
Your life boy soapbox?
My life boy buoy. My life buoy soapbox.
And I'm going to have words with her about the fact that she's never seen A Christmas Story because I don't understand
whatever.
how you can own a vintage shoe company.
Stop preaching! Anyway.
But Christmas Story!
We'll talk about that more when we get close to Christmas. Love you guys. At 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are doing our live cast over at American Duchess. It's about Tango boots. It's a product spotlight. So
Which
come
we
learn
sell
all about
on Royal
them.
Vintage.
Yep, Tango boots.
So come learn about our Tango boots, which are the sexiest shoes.
Ooh la la. And we're also going to give you a preview of the new collection coming out for fall, starting for pre-order on October 3rd. So we've got some Edwardian Oxfords and some other old-fashioned shoes.
Yeah, that kind of like run the line of vintage and historical. So check it out.
And yeah. Okay, you guys, love you.
Bye.
See you next week.